If you love 3D printing, electronics, RC cars, BattleBots, and a whole lot of mayhem, then have I got a project for you. Death Racers. Now, I know the name is a little over the top, but let's just roll with it, okay? Death Racers are a do-it-yourself 3D printed radio-controlled car built for battle. They're fun to make and mod and drive around the neighborhood. But the real thrill is when you bring them to a 3D printing festival and face off with your frenemies. I saw the first Death Racer demo at SMRRF in 2022. At that point, it was just a handful of YouTubers joking around on a parking lot. But I immediately wanted to join in on the fun. Building a custom RC car isn't exactly cheap, and making it tough enough to survive an afternoon of bashing can really test your maker skills. Our first racer probably had $300 worth of parts in it, not including the filament. The good news is these racers are getting more affordable, but more on that later. For me, Death Racers are a great project to do with my husband. After all, you know what they say, couples that battle together stay together, or something like that. And as luck would have it, before we got into 3D printing, Rick's hobby was building old-school radio-controlled planes, knowledge that we were able to translate to ground-based warfare. This project gives us a chance to combine our talents. We work out the mods together, I handle the printing, and he does the assembly. Death Racers are a mashup of Rock'em Sock'em robots and miniature demolition derby. The cars have little robot drivers whose heads are clipped into place over a kill switch. To defeat your opponent, you need to knock their head off, which flips the switch and powers off the vehicle. Each car has a weapon mounted at head height, but scoring a winning blow on a moving opponent is harder than you might think. And that's where the Demolition Derby comes into play. Death Racers were created by YouTuber Sam Prentice and his designer friend Michael Badley, who are both into 3D printing life-size droids. When I chatted with them at SMRRF in England, Michael showed me the droid that inspired the stock Death Racer. Huh, those treads do look awfully familiar. Sam told me the racers were done on a lark, but people loved them so much he continued to host the battles at other riprap festivals and asked companies like Polymaker to sponsor prizes. The community stepped in and started sharing their mods, adding plows, spinning weapons, and swapping out the treads for wheels. Here's Sam to tell you more about the project.
Hey, what's going on? Sam Prentice here. We're talking a little bit about Death Racers today. It's a 3-year-old project which we're resurrecting for 2025. We're getting excited for this particular motion in time because you can now buy a kit. Now the kit has been released. We are getting ready for this kind of May release with Rocky Mountain. Very excited about that. But if you're into STEM, if you're into robotics, and if you're into making stuff with 3D printing, well, Death Racers certainly might be for you. Check out my YouTube channel. There's lots of information on that, and also my Discord as well. But Death Racers is coming back for 2025. We're really excited about it. And hopefully, by the time it does come back, we'll be in a really good place where you can build these very easily and be very happy with the results. But if calamity and smashing things up and 3D printing is your bag, then potentially this could be for you.
There was a little bit of confusion about how to build Death Racer in those early days. Sam wanted the project to be an introduction to robotics, so a little experimentation is considered to be part of the process. Michael shared his model files on Patreon for just $1, and Sam provided a list of parts, but you were on your own to source them and free to mod them however you wanted, within limits. In our case, Rick and I did some modifications to Harley, our first Death Racer, just to get her going with the parts so we could scrounge up in time for the 2022 East Coast Rip Rap Festival. Rick used a radio transmitter he already had from the planes, and we got a little creative sourcing the parts. But all this is about to change in 2025. Michael is simplifying the files and will soon post them to printables, where they'll be easier to find. Big Tree Tech got on board with an affordable hardware kit with all the gears, motors, servos, and an RC controller, all in one box. Batteries are not included, but I'll put a link down below to what we use in our racers. As far as filament goes, you can make these out of just about anything. PETG is probably the most popular choice since it's affordable, easy to print, and has a good bit of resilience. The treads are made with TPU for rubbery grip, and lately I started adding fuzzy skin for more traction. This year I also upped our game by printing most of the bot from carbon fiber nylon. It might be a little overkill, but since I have an enclosed quitty to test out, I thought I might get some high temperature filaments going. If you want your parts made with those high temperature filaments but you don't have the right setup, then you can always visit today's sponsor, PCBWay, who has a giant print farm capable of printing not only in ABS and ASA, but technical filaments like nylon, PC, and PEEK. They also have resin printers, which might come in handy for other projects, and SLM if you need things printed in metal. They also manufacture parts with CNC machining, work with sheet metal, and do injection molding should you need a use for that. And of course, being PCBWay, they're a great source for ordering custom PCBs. Thanks, PCBWay.
So this was my first go at building a death racer. Hadn't done one before. Ever since I first saw them years ago at this point, I was really intrigued by the idea. I love the idea of like battle bots from my childhood, but low impact battle bots. You know, it's something I wasn't gonna have to rebuild every single time I played with it. And I've been wanting to build one, but I just held off for the longest time because I just don't have time to self-source everything that I build. Having to buy every individual component for a project, I always end up forgetting something halfway through a build and have to wait until it shows up. So now that kits are available, it's finally what pushed me over the line to say, okay, it's time to build one.
Sam says a dedicated website is in the works, which will host clear build instructions. He's also planning new ways to race the bots, so we're not just smashing each other into bits. And we might be introducing team competitions soon. Building a death racer is a fun hobby to get into and a really cool way to show off your 3D printing skills. You don't need to be a designer to get started, but if you want to customize the stock car, a little Tinkercad goes a long way. Personally, that's all I've used to make Harley and Mr. Plow. Sam hasn't put too many restrictions on our builds, and I think he rather enjoys watching us beat the crap out of each other in new and exciting ways. But we do have a few safety and fairness rules. No metal parts, besides those screws and connecting pins, and everything must be 3D printed. The head has to remain a clear target for your opponent's bludger. We're all using the same rods for our weapons, so that puts constraints on the car's overall dimensions. I've seen some pretty gnarly fights over the years, and bought a few death racers home in a shoebox. But we learn from each battle and rebuild them stronger for the next time. So, what do you think? Do you want to build a death racer? We'd love to see you at the next event. At the time of this recording, the next event will be at the Rocky Mountain Rip Rap Festival in Denver, Colorado in May of 2025. That will be followed by MRRF in Indiana, 3D Printopia in Maryland, and back to England for SMRRF towards the end of the year. I'll put a link down below to current resources, which at the moment is our Discord group as well as Sam's YouTube. When the official Death Racer website is up, I'll add that information here as well. Thanks for watching, and have fun death racing.